professor of political science at Sonoma State University in California. Good to see you, David. So
Thank you
could
for
you
having me.
say that Trump not only failed to avoid criminal charges, he also failed in this to rile up his base to the point that he seemed at least to want to do so?
Well, I mean, look, he's going to raise more than $10 million in the next 24 hours that will fuel his attempt or his ride to get the GOP nomination. He'll probably raise 25 million in the next, say, 24 to 48 hours. That's not necessarily a failure. What we saw tonight after the indictment was he goes back to Florida and he lays out the list of grievances far beyond what we saw with the 34-count indictment today. What you see is a list of grievances that include potentially other charges in Georgia and Florida. And all that allows Donald Trump to freeze the Republican nomination race, to freeze the race to become the Republican nominee. It gives him also kind of an uptick, if you will, against his rivals to run for president again. He can be indicted. Heck, he could even be found guilty, and he can still hold the office of president of the United States. Obviously, the Biden White House isn't going to say much about this. They're going to draw a contrast. Democrats are going to draw a contrast. And when Donald Trump says anything, they tend to just go into kind of a frenzy. Also, Republicans are quietly worried about Donald Trump's inability to deliver a national vote. He becomes the Republican nominee, let's say, but he's been unable to get more of the popular vote like in 2016 and in 2020, something to watch because these cases and potentially further indictments are going to roll into the presidential election period next year in 2024.
Yeah, when you look at the accusations, not charges that Trump has faced, I mean, the much more serious ones are things like people believe that he actually incited violence on January 6, 2020, but that could be extremely difficult to prove. In this case, seems kind of black and white. I mean, they have financial records, they have 34 counts. How do you think this is likely to be resolved? Could he face prison time over this?
It's unlikely that he face prison time. There's a couple of things here. One, the state of New York moves very slowly in terms of its cases. He and his legal team have until August to file their motions. He doesn't appear back in court, if he appears at all, until early December, December 3rd, 4th, right in that range. That's less than 2 months from the Iowa caucuses, well into the 2024 election period. And even with the 34 counts, even though they're felonies, they're the lowest grade of felonies allowed under New York law, Class E felonies. Nonetheless, he would more likely face fines or something like that. The more likely scenario is that the cases related to the Mar-a-Lago secret documents, this is Jack Smith, the federal special prosecutor, that is much more stringent and much more problematic for him in terms of jail or prison time. And you also have the cases in upstate New York, Washington, D.C., and Georgia. All of that weighing over this kind of stunning development of an indictment of a former president. Nonetheless, it will, while in the background, be an important element in the near term to help him secure that Republican nomination as their candidate. It probably is not enough, though. Long term, any indictment is bad for your political legacy. That will haunt him into the 2024 election, presidential election, if he becomes the Republican nominee.
Got it. Okay, David McCuan, good to talk to you.
Thank you very much.